Well, here we are, the grand finale of our deep dive into English literature.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. Can you believe we made it all the way from Beowulf to, well, pretty much the present day? I mean, we talked about everything from medieval romances to modernist stream of consciousness.
We covered centuries of literature.
We did, and all those different genres, poetry, drama, novels, even a little bit of satire.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing to think about the sheer range of human expression we've explored. But sometimes, I gotta be honest,
Yeah.
sometimes I wonder, after all that reading and analyzing, did we actually get anywhere?
What do you mean?
I mean, do we really, truly understand any of it? Like, we can talk about the symbolism in the Canterbury Tales until we're blue in the face, but are we any closer to knowing what Chaucer was really trying to say?
I see what you're getting at. It's like, can we ever truly crack the code of what these writers from centuries ago were trying to express?
Exactly. And it's not just the writers from way back when, either. Think about some of the more modern stuff we've talked about, like, take James Joyce.
Right.
Brilliant writer, no doubt. But sometimes I feel like I need a decoder ring just to get through a page of Ulysses.
Huh. I know what you mean, but I think that feeling of, not quite grasping everything is actually part of what makes literature so compelling.
Exactly. How so?
Well, because it's not like math or science. There's not always a single right answer. A work of literature can have multiple layers of meaning, and those meanings can shift depending on who's reading it and when.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it. So it's not really about finding the definitive interpretation of a text. It's more about...
It's more about the journey, the exploration.
Yeah.
It's about letting the text spark your own thoughts and ideas, even if those thoughts and ideas change over time.
I like that. So, like, even if we can't be 100% sure what Shakespeare meant by to be or not to be, that doesn't mean we can't still find meaning in those words.
Exactly. And the meaning you find might be different from the meaning I find, and that's okay. That's what keeps these works alive and relevant, even centuries later.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And it kind of takes the pressure off, you know? It's
Yeah.
not about being the ultimate literary expert. It's about engaging with the text and seeing what sparks for you.
Right. And speaking of sparks, think back to some of the specific works we've talked about on this deep dive. There were so many fascinating insights and connections we made.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, remember when we talked about how satire evolved over time? It's amazing how writers from different eras use similar techniques to poke fun at the absurdities of their own societies.
Exactly. We saw how Chaucer used satire in the Canterbury Tales to expose the hypocrisy of the medieval church. And then, centuries later, writers like Jonathan Swift and Alexander Pope were doing the same thing, but in a totally different context.
It just goes to show that even though language and social norms change, some things, like human nature, are pretty timeless.
That's a great point. And remember how we talked about all those different literary movements like Romanticism and Modernism?
Oh, yeah.
Those movements weren't just arbitrary categories. They helped us understand how writers were responding to the intellectual and social changes of their time.
Right, like understanding the tenets of Romanticism, the emphasis on emotion and individualism, helped us appreciate the works of poets like Wordsworth and Keats.
Exactly. And then, knowing about modernism, with its focus on fragmentation and alienation, shed light on writers like T.S. Eliot and Virginia Woolf.
It's funny, I used to think all those literary terms were just like something you had to memorize for a test.
I know.
But now I see how they can actually be helpful. They're like tools for understanding literature on a deeper level.
I think of it like having a toolbox. The more tools you have, the more equipped you are to tackle any kind of literary project, whether it's a poem, a play, or a novel.
And if you've listened to this entire deep dive series, you've definitely added some new tools to your toolbox. So congrats.
Yeah, pat yourself on the back. You've officially completed a whirlwind tour of English literature.
But here's the thing. It doesn't have to end here. Literature isn't just something you study in school. It's an ongoing conversation that we can all participate in.
Absolutely. Every time you pick up a book, you're joining that conversation.
So here's a little something to think about as we wrap up our deep dive. Think of one work of literature from any period or genre that really stayed with you. Maybe it's something we talked about on this show, or maybe it's something you discovered on your own. Now ask yourself, why did that particular work resonate with you? What about it spoke to you on a personal level?
That's a great question to ponder.
Because ultimately, that's what literature is all about. It's about connecting with the thoughts, feelings, and experiences of other human beings across time and space. And that connection, that shared experience, is what makes literature so powerful and enduring. So keep reading, keep exploring, and keep the conversation going.
You got it. Happy reading.
Happy reading.